as well.
Really?
Wonder why that's a go-to example. I honestly, and people are free to disbelieve me, but honestly, I have never heard a Taylor Swift song.
I've only heard Taylor Swift because my hairdresser listens to it.
Okay.
And so she's like, oh, I know all these songs. I'm like, otherwise I would not know who any of these people are. She has like top 40 on and like when I get my hair done. So I'm like, who is this? So I have to always ask her these questions. Or if I go to ASU Gymnastics Museum, I'm like, who is this? So I have to like ask somebody or Shazam it because I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this stuff. But I feel like this is a good thing though.
Yeah. So
it's like kind of dreary outside too.
Yeah. Well, I locked myself out of the house. And that has never happened to me before. I have never I've always either got keys in my pocket or known that I was just popping out real quick and left the door slightly ajar. But today I actually closed it all the way. And thankfully the neighbors had a spare key.
And your girlfriend wasn't home?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
So
it's a good thing you got a spare.
Well, yeah, thankfully they're good neighbors. So,
and you're home.
And they're home. Those are the two things, because otherwise that's a call of shame saying, can you please leave what you're doing and come home to let me in the house because I locked the door. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's a terrible call of shame. So that's thrown me off. But I thank you for coming and doing the show.
No problem.
I sort of first became aware of your writing through Yab Yum, and so I wanted to get into that, but we'll sort of come to that eventually as I have absolutely no plan whatsoever, and that's kind of how these go. But it's a rare kind of coldish, rainy day with people being dicks on the road.
Pretty much. I mean, there are already dicks every day on the road.
Yeah.
I quit like taking a freeway during rush hour because I'm like, I can't do this.
It's awful. I have to drive home from work from Mesa every day, and so there's no
in Tempe.
Yeah, there's no avoiding the freeway, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's like I've been like taking some surface streets, and I feel like it's like just the same amount of time.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like I've been taking like the 143 and the 202, and people just don't slow down, or they just so tailgate you, and just like I'm just not going to deal with this. Well,
what I don't get is the person who just like zooms through. Like, where are they going? There's no way that you're, I don't know. It's this like, you can't, there are immovable objects in the way. People are stopping and slowing down. You can't just take off like that. And the whole no signaling thing is awful. I don't understand that.
I don't either.
But so did you grow up here in Phoenix?
No, I actually grew up in Oregon, in Hillsboro, Oregon, which is 20 miles west of Portland.
Okay. I'm actually going to AWP will be the first time that I've ever been to Portland or in Oregon at all.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not super familiar with the landscape. What else is that a more suburban area? Is it a rural area?
It was more suburban. Like when I was growing up, it was like a smaller town, like 50,000 people.
Okay.
But now it's like over 100,000 people, especially with the with Intel in there, so that's like one of their biggest employers. So it's like huge now. I haven't been. I was over there over the summer for the first time, like in maybe 6 or 7 years, and I didn't recognize the place anymore.
Is it filled with like tech hipster type people?
It's like more family. A lot of tech people. It's not so much hipster per se.
Well, I guess I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely not Silicon Valley, but it's a very interesting group of people. But
that whole thing fascinates me because you can't, so is Intel actually in town or is it more in Portland and people commute?
It's actually in Hillsboro.
In Hillsboro. Okay.
My grandma actually used to have a house over by there before she went to retirement home. But yeah, it's a pretty big one because even Chandler down here has an Intel. So it's pretty big.
I'm not tuned into where everything is. I guess I had no idea.
Where
I know that there's some like corporations headquartered out here and whatnot, but I guess I just don't think about it's not the same. I don't know.
Yeah. I try not to think too much about it since they're not that interesting. Where in Portland are you going exactly?
To the convention center specifically.
Oh, I know. Oh, that's where.
That's where AWP is. Sorry,
okay.
Yeah.
I know where the convention center is.
Yeah.
There's like a whole like light rail. They call it a Max over there that you can like ride.
Sweet.
And I don't know where you're staying at.
There's I'm doing Airbnb for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I did that for like first time like last year. I was kind of skeptical, but
Yeah.
I'm like being single and being like someone's house. But it was actually no one was there. It was awesome.
That is appealing. There are some options, I'm like searching through, and I don't get the. I would, or at least I would never want to, but I can imagine if somebody has not much money to spend on lodging, that you would sleep on somebody's couch in their guest room or whatever.
Yeah.
But I stayed away from that and I want the self-contained apartment or house where nobody is there, so I don't have to feel awkward about like walking through while other people are there. It just seems odd.
I'll do the single rooms in LA sometimes because
Yeah.
it's actually cheaper than staying in a motel, especially if you're just there for like one night. Sometimes I've gotten some weird things, but it worked for like what it was.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're like close to like a light rail or something.
It says it's less than a mile from the convention center. So
okay, you probably just like walk there or
yeah.
something.
Yeah. We have a table there with in the book fair area. So we're gonna have to drive a little bit, unfortunately, because I'm not walking all that stuff.
Yeah. It might be raining there because it always rains there.
Yeah. How was growing up there? Did you get into the city much, or was there much of a cultural scene for you to get involved in out there?
Not really. Like, my mom like grew up on a farm, so it's like she just really loved the suburban area. So, we would sometimes go into Portland, but not very much. If we could do like sometimes we go to Powell's, but. I would just like somehow like find out like about more cultural stuff, like sometimes from people from school, because everyone was like really involved. Like they're like super religious. I was not religious, or people were involved in FFA, Future Farmers for America.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like really just not my scene. I just didn't really like school that much. But yeah, so sometimes we go to Portland, but then like my mom was strict. We didn't have cable, and but then I would find out like all these like different bands, like just like random metal bands, like. Pantera, Corrosion Conformity, like in like some like random like music video show. So then I would just like find all these magazines and like learn about all this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to live in a smaller town. I want to live in a city. And then my mom wanted me to like go to college at Oregon State University, which is Corvallis, which is like a kind of farming area. It kind of smells really bad, but that's at the paper mill in Albany. And so I went to the University of Oregon. So that was like more of a hippie town.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just would just meet people, and I volunteered at their concert venue, like Wow Hall. Check the IDs. That was fun, like when you look really young and you're like checking people's IDs for stuff. But yeah, it's just like, I just never felt the small town, and a lot of my family just loves that small town. It just never was for me. So that's like kind of like I don't even know. I was like thinking about that. I'm like, I don't know like how that came about because it just like came about. I'm just like, oh, I just didn't like, any of that stuff. So it just was not for me. Even like I go back and I see my cousins and like two of them have like built houses out in the country. So I'm just like, wow. I'm like, I don't think I can do that. They both have like 3 kids. I'm like, I just live a completely different like lifestyle. And I probably see my Instagram stories of like stuff. I'm like, what is she doing?
There's some part of me that likes the idea like the part of me that wants to go completely off the grid and not have any sort of thing and live in some log cabin in trees. And then that lasts until I get to the point where like, well, but what about all the stuff I like?
Yeah. The FOMO is super real.
Yeah, I guess I don't think I could hack it. I've camped once in my entire life, and I can't. I being too far away from plumbing is a real problem for me. I realize that makes me, I'm sure, lacking in some ways. As far as the like, if something were to come up where I would need to hunt and gather, I'm kind of out. not fit in well with that whole thing.
I once camped my freshman year of college on the beach because Eugene is like maybe like less than an hour away from the beach, and it started to rain. I'm like, oh, I really don't like camping. Then we like stayed in a motel, but it was like, yeah, it's just like something like, I'm like, why would I want to do that for fun? Like out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I don't think I could hack it. My dad was a hunter, and I'm just like, I really don't get this. But that's cool. I like meat. I just don't want to kill it.
So did you get pretty relaxed in being the sort of like the sort of oddball in the family, or did you ever feel kind of like you didn't quite fit in, or how did you deal with that?
I don't know. I don't know if I ever quite felt like I fit in, but I just kind of like did what I want, because my mom was just like, why do you like to go to all these shows and buy all this music? So she doesn't quite understand like why I want to do this. Even like still now, I'll talk to her. It's like I don't talk to her about much about that kind of stuff, just because I'm like, she doesn't understand like why I want to do this. She's like, I should be like spending my money on something else, but like I don't know what you expect me to do, because I don't want children. So it's just like, would much rather be doing other things. But yeah. So like a lot of my family doesn't understand, but that's like okay too.
Yeah.
So but maybe they're just not supposed to understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I have completely dysfunctional family, and so I have no frame of reference for when people talk about how close they are and can talk to their parents about anything and can do, their family is really supportive, and like my mom has been supportive of me throughout my life, and and mostly I can talk to her about things, but in general, this whole concept of some sort of functional family life is completely foreign to me.
Yeah, I feel like they were supportive, but they just didn't quite understand. Because I always read about articles about people like, oh, my family is like so supportive of, love me for who I am. I'm like, I don't know if I like quite felt that way. But I did actually call my mom recently, because I'm like, see, she had to check that cleared that I wrote her, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like scared of driving for some reason. She's like, it's like, oh, just because you had 2 bad things happen to your car. I'm like, okay, that's actually the first time I actually felt better about something from my own mother, but that took a long time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like so much dysfunction. It's just, they just don't really understand.
Sure. What did you end up going to college for?
Well, I thought I was going to like go in for journalism, but I just didn't really like the classes there. So I ended up just switching at like my sophomore year after I took my prerequisites for like sociology. So I thought it was like actually just going to go into teaching. So, but then I just like decided after I got to college, I really don't know if I want to go back to school again, because college is kind of just like a lot. Yeah, it's just so intense. I like have immense respect for anyone who's like, does post-grad or doctorate. So I have a couple friends who are, have doctorates, and Jenna.
Yeah.
It's like,
she's going for some other degree right now, too.
Yeah.
Right?
That's like, I don't know if I can do that anymore, but yeah. So I just kind of just jumping around like financial field, and like I title escrow. I'm like, I just don't know if I feel this. So like, maybe I should just go back into some writing again, even just like not paid. So, so I just did some stuff with like Here and Now Media, a blog with my friend Mandy, who actually moved to Seattle. So I was like writing album reviews and concert reviews, but I just realized it's kind of like not, I don't really know if I like exactly writing about music in that sort of technical way. So I like to write about people and like their experiences. And I have like a Instagram account called Scooter Litter, where I like post pictures of like scooters that are lying around the valley.
Yeah. I want to talk about that too. Now, what ended up bringing you out here?
Well, for some reason, actually, I had a grandma on my dad's side who actually lived in Tucson. My dad actually lived in Tucson. Like, he moved there when I was 13. Like, so my parents were divorced for a really long time, but I never visited him because, like, he was an alcoholic. I'm like, I just don't want anything to do with that. So my brother would go visit, and I'm like, oh, I like the desert. I always loved the desert landscape, because in like Eastern Oregon, it's like all like desert landscape. I'm like, oh, I want to live out in a desert, but I don't want to live in a small hick town either. So, so it's like a couple of years after I graduated from college, I was living with my mom. Then I moved to Portland, actually in the actual city. But I'm like, it was just hard to like meet people. Like, sometimes I hang out with like friends at college, but I didn't really feel like I was like really like branching out. But so I knew some people like from college who lived down there, and they like live like in the West Valley. I'm like, I'm not going to live in Avondale. Like, fuck that. So
Yeah, nothing.
Can I cuss on here?
There. Oh, yeah.